Have you ever thought about the unexpected way that the world changes? In 1940, the first Red Robin restaurant opened in Seattle. Could the founder have known that 82 years later, Red Robin restaurants would still be giving people diarrhea? A little over 100 years ago, the world changed so radically, so fundamentally, that we're still trying to catch up. I think we Christians are especially trying to catch up. The year was 1879. The man was British photographer Edward Muybridge. If you've heard of Muybridge, it's probably because of his photo sequence of a racehorse, which proved definitively that its feet go off the ground. Actually, Muybridge was all about experimenting with sequences of pictures, which shouldn't surprise you because photographers in the 19th century were often experimenters. You kind of had to be because you were working with chemicals and stuff, and it was all really new. You couldn't just take your pictures to be developed at Walmart or, take a pic for your TikTok with your iPhone or something like that. Anyway, Muybridge experimented with taking a whole bunch of pictures of a subject at once. He found a way to project those pictures in a sequence, really quickly together, giving the illusion of movement, creating... Well, you see where this is going. Edward Muybridge is one of the fathers of cinema. His zoopraxiscope was one of the first devices to display moving pictures. But you know how it is, Tommy E decided he was gonna move in on Muybridge's territory. I'm talking Thomas Edison, yo. The light bulb, the phonograph, the rechargeable battery. Maybe you've heard of it? Edison apparently saw a demonstration of the zoopraxiscope in 1888, and later that year he announced he was going to make a device that, and I quote, would do for the eye what the phonograph does for the ear. I'll tell you one device Edison didn't need to invent, a device to help him throw down the gauntlet. In 1891, Edison's company premiered the kinetoscope, which was a wooden cabinet that one person could peep into to see a strip of film run past light to create moving pictures. The kinetoscope went public in 1893 with parlors around the world opening as the coolest, newest novelty. You went, you paid your money, you stared into the little machine. A little like going to the arcade, except instead of early 90s skater bros going to the mall, it was Victorian ladies in bloomers and gentlemen with very silly mustaches. It was enough of a success that Edison began developing a kinetophone, which added a phonograph for sound. The two didn't really sync up. And anyway, the future of moving pictures was in projection, something Edison didn't see in one of those famous crappy predictions of yore. And I quote, "If we make this screen machine that you're asking for, it will spoil everything. We are making these peep show machines and selling a lot of them at good profit. If we put out a screen machine, there will be a use for maybe about 10 of them in the whole United States. With that many screen machines, you could show the pictures to everybody in the country, and then it would be done. Let's not kill the goose that lays the golden egg." The only goose is you, Tom. Anyway, in 1895, the Lumière brothers in France projected the first motion picture to an audience using their cinematograph, film and projection unit. And that was pretty much the end of Edison's kinetoscope and the beginning of movies as we know them today.
I don't like sand.
Why am I telling you all this? Well, none of what I just told you is the crazy part. Obviously, things that exist have to be invented at some point. That's not the crazy part. Here's the crazy part. Imagine a group of aliens on some distant planet who just discovered water because they've lived without it before this, because they're aliens or whatever. Anyway, 15 years after they discover water, they have water slides and water skis and cruise ships. And I need a better analogy. Let's see. Okay, imagine somebody discovered ink. And 15 years later, we don't just have a printing press, we have William Shakespeare. That's how movies were. In 1905, the first Nickelodeon theater opened in Pittsburgh to show films. Soon Nickelodeons opened all over the country, and world. By 1910, film industries had sprung up in Europe, and one was starting in a little place called Hollywood. Meanwhile, filmmakers were discovering things about how to put moving pictures together. Like if you cut from one shot to another shot, people in the audience will associate those two shots. Filmmakers had to figure that out. It wasn't intuitive. Early films like Trip to the Moon by George Méliès in 1902 had these long static shots, like 7 minutes long, with dissolves, no cuts. By 1915, 10 years and change later, we have The Birth of a Nation, which is silent, sure, but it's got close-ups and wide shots and different dramatic angles and cross-cutting between two parallel panes of action. It's a movie, a powerful one, using all the movie tricks that movies use to this day. It's also horrifically racist, but that's a story for another day. In less than a decade, movies went from not a thing to fully flowered works of art. And entrepreneurs in the movie business created theater chains, which decimated regional theater, like acting theater, destroyed vaudeville, supplanted books and magazines as the dominant form of entertainment in the 20th century, all the way through to today. I mean, think about the great inventions that changed the world. The car was basically just a horseless buggy. The airplane was just a horseless buggy with wings, but people had always traveled, just not as quickly or effectively. The gun was just a really efficient projectile weapon, but people had always been trying to kill each other at a distance pretty much since the dawn of man.
Good one.
But moving pictures changed the way we think, changed the way we process the story of our lives, the way we see ourselves, or how much of the human experience the average person is allowed to see and how they see it. I mean, like, I've never been to India. I've never been in battle. I've certainly never had to lower my cyborg friend into a vat of molten steel to prevent Skynet from destroying the world. But I have an idea what those things are like, because I've seen them in movies. I mean, really, who doesn't think of their life like it's a movie? Who doesn't talk a lot about movies? Even people who don't like movies have their favorite movies, and that all happened at the turn of the 19th into the 20th century in a decade and change. The world transformed itself completely, and we're still trying to wrap our heads around it today. One day, someone you love will die, or you'll fall in love, or you'll make love to your spouse for the first time, or you'll stand up to your boss, or you'll travel to a foreign country. Will there be the right close-ups and insert shots? Will the dialogue be what you expected? Will the soundtrack be just right? Will it feel like it's supposed to? When World War II vets got back, they didn't want to talk about it. They didn't think the women and children and men who didn't fight needed to know. Now, if you want to know, you just flip on Saving Private Ryan. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Have you thought about it? Our lives are shaped by what we see in cinema and on TV and in moving pictures on social media and the internet. That all began a little over 100 years ago, and we're still catching up. Sometimes I think Christians are especially behind. We make these lame Christian movies about football coaches or TV shows about the life of Jesus that don't ask the question of why God chose to reveal his son through words and not, TV shows about the life of Jesus. More than those kinds of silly things, though, I find that a lot of Christians are quick to do a couple of things. They're quick to demonize moving pictures, which, to be fair, there's a lot that's evil. There's a lot that's demonic. Other Christians are quick to praise moving pictures and see everything that's wonderful and artistic and moving about them, without saying no to what's evil. And then there's the third category of Christians who just don't think about it one way or another, and none of those categories are right. Like it says in the book of Hebrews, we need to have our powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. And to do that, we need to start by acknowledging that this is a hugely powerful medium, and therefore a hugely dangerous one. Its invention has completely changed the world, and we're still catching up. If we're going to catch up, we'll need humility and diligence.
Dad? Dad? Dad?
Yes, Lisa?